We have a trade to announce, and it's a big one with big implications. It's a deal between the buying New York Rangers and the selling St. Louis Blues. From the Rangers Twitter account itself, official, the Rangers have acquired forward Vladimir Tarasenko and defenseman Niko Mikkola in exchange for a conditional first-round pick in the 2023 NHL Draft, a conditional fourth-round pick in the 2024 NHL Draft, Sammy, Blais, and Hunter Skinner. And there are a few extra details in there as well to help with that. We have Elliot Friedman. The St. Louis Blues are keeping 50% of Tarasenko's salary. That's big. The draft pick conditions to St. Louis: later of 2 New York Rangers firsts in 2023. The Rangers own Dallas's pick too. If Stars finish with a top 10 pick, it shifts to 2024 and will be later of 2. 2024 fourth rounder becomes a third if the Rangers make the playoffs this year. So it's Tarasenko and Mikkola for Blais, Hunter Skinner, and the 2 conditional picks. The condition on the fourth is odd because the Rangers are going to make the playoffs unless something really weird happens. So let's break this down and the ripple effect it could have around the league. But first, think you know which way it's going to go? You got to make your bet at Sports Interaction. You can bet pregame, live betting on all major sports, and prop bets. Might take any Tarasenko stuff that comes up. Want to bet? Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Or how about you download the app? But it's 19 plus, and please play responsibly. So, first and foremost, the conditions on those picks are strange. In particular, the one about the Rangers making the playoffs. So it's a conditional fourth. Unless the Rangers make the playoffs, then it's a third rounder that they give the Blues. To me, if I'm a Rangers fan, that pick is as good as gone. It's a third. The Rangers are not guaranteed a playoff spot by any means, but they're only 4 points behind the second place in the Metro New Jersey Devils, and they have 66 points of their own. They're 6 points up on the Capitals and 7 points up on the Penguins and Islanders each. I guess if you can protect yourself, you better protect yourself, but if the Rangers miss the playoffs after acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko, I highly doubt any fan is going to be like, woo! Well, at least it was only a fourth. All right, talking about how this affects either team. For the Rangers, I've seen nothing but Rangers fans just freaking out all day. Not only do you get a large defenseman in Niko Mikkola, which I know Rangers management will like. They don't want to be pushed around because the Capitals really got in their heads. Who am I kidding? Tom Wilson, like individually, solo job. But they also get Vladimir Tarasenko, who is going to be a huge left-handed help on the right wing. They had another right winger who shoots left-handed who they were looking at, and that is a player by the name of Patrick Kane. Have you heard of him? From the always incredible Emily Kaplan, according to sources, the Rangers targeted Tarasenko, a player they long coveted, and decided to go for it after feeling the asking prices for Timo Meier and Patrick Kane were too high. Also sounds like New York had some concerns over Kane's hip injury. I'm really glad she added the last part because Timo Meier has been a destroyer of worlds this season, scoring goals, setting up plays, driving play, hitting guys, getting into fights. He is what every team in a playoff dogfight should want. And then there's Patrick Kane, who, yes, has the track record, but he's had a horrible season, and it's so much more than him being a good player on a bad team. He's a busted player on a bad team. He has a hip injury. We shouldn't mince words, though. Both players have had abysmal seasons compared to what we expect out of them. In 46 games, Kane still has 35 points, 9 goals, and 26 assists. That's not bad. It's maybe not his usual standard. However, in those 46 games, he's a minus 24. And plus minus isn't the greatest, but that is mind-boggling. Tarasenko hasn't been much better in 38 games. 10 goals, 19 assists for 29 points. He's a minus 18. But if the Rangers were comfortable with cost, you can be pretty sure that Tarasenko should light it up with that ridiculous forward group. David Shapiro, aka Blue Seat Blogs, had this prediction, and it's a pretty tantalizing one. Bread, aka Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, and Tarasenko on the top line Lafreniere, Hedel, and Kako on the second line. Kreider, Trocheck, and Vesey as some sort of shutdown line. Lecision, Goodrow, Gauthier / Kravtsov. Dude! Add to that a decor of Lindgren, Fox, Keandre Miller, Jacob Trouba, Niko, Mikkola, adding Mikkola to that blue line with Trouba, who's probably the hardest hitting defenseman in the league, is Wild, and Schneider. Oh, and they're backed up by arguably the best goalie in the world in Igor Shesterkin. We talked about this on the podcast recently, like what should the Rangers do? What should they go out and get? Do they really need to go out and get a big name forward? I think there are a lot of good teams who have a bit of a weakness, but their strengths are able to overpower their weakness. With the Rangers, you might like to make Shesterkin's life a little easier because we know they can score and we know he can save pucks, but at the end of the day, you want to limit the chances against. This, to me, is a great example of the Rangers not putting a Band-Aid solution on the back end, and they just become more of what they are. Tarasenko makes them a much better, high-octane, lethal offense. On the back end, now it's not just Trouba, it's Niko, Mikkola, who might just mess you up a little bit. I really like this move for the Rangers because it makes them more of what they are. I think it's a great move. Now for the Blues, you get back Sammy Blais, who's a guy who you like and you want a Stanley Cup with. But let's be honest, you're into this for Hunter Skinner, who's a right shot defenseman in his very early 20s, and you're doing this for the draft picks, which yes, are magic beans, but you're probably getting a third round pick instead of a fourth, and you're getting a first round pick probably this year, and it's probably going to be okay. I mean, geez, even if the Rangers win the cup, it's going to be 32nd overall. That's okay. Right now, it's magic beans, but the reason this is going to cause a huge ripple effect around the NHL is the Rangers had a very obvious target in that they wanted to get someone to help up front on the right wing. They got it. Their shopping appears to be done. I'm sure they might go out and do a little of this, a little of that, but their big shopping appears to be done. Watch, they're going to go get Timo Meier like tomorrow, and I can just delete this video. For the St. Louis Blues and for the rest of the league, in terms of who the sellers are, this is huge because the Blues are now a clear-cut seller. They've been in the basement of the league for most of the season, but it's been like the upper basement. And for a long time, it didn't seem like they were fully committed to, okay, let's tear it down and let's do a rebuild. Because you look at the way their roster was constructed on Cap Friendly, and they have a lot of expiring deals, and if they wanted to, they could get rid of a lot of guys and recoup a lot of assets. Well, both Tarasenko and Mikkola were pending unrestricted free agents on the Blues. What other pending unrestricted free agents do they have? Well, they have one guy who's on IR right now. You might have heard of him. Ryan O'Reilly, captain of the Blues and winner of the 2019 Conn Smythe Trophy. Ivan Barbashev, a multi-position forward with some decent size, some decent production to his name. Lots of teams are going to want him at 27 years old. Noel Acciari could be a nice, cheap depth option. I would not be shocked at all to see the Bruins go after him because he was a Bruin once upon a time. Logan Brown and Alexei Toropchenko are pending RFAs. I don't know if I would expect them to go. Probably not. Josh Levo, Tyler Pitlick, those are very, very cheap options. Or maybe they stick around with the Blues and they get some solid like first and second line time while the Blues sell, and then they can go into a contract year and hopefully produce well down the stretch. That's what I'd be hoping for if I were them. And then there's Thomas Greiss in net, who has had his ups and downs, but overall he's a .909 goalie on the season. If a team is in a pinch because someone's injured or they need a third option, I could see someone going after him for a low cost. To me, this trade was an indication that the Blues are willing to get rid of everything that's not nailed down. And now it's very interesting because this is a copycat league, man. It is February 9th. The trade deadline isn't until March 3rd. This is not the way it was last season, where especially in the Eastern Conference, it was obvious who the 8 teams making the playoffs were and who the rest were. This year, there's a dogfight in the West and there's a dogfight in the East. Lots of teams still trying and clawing to get in. All the while, it's one of the wildest drafts up at the top that we've seen in recent memory. Connor Bedard, the crown jewel, might even be better than McDavid, and McDavid is the best player in the world, so that's incredible. Matvei Michkov, Adam Fantilli. There are wild unbelievable, unreal runner-up prizes if you manage to win the lottery. So, what do you think of this deal for the Bruins? Do you like it for them? And like, you think they're going to make the playoffs, right? Meanwhile, for the St. Louis Blues, what do you think? How soon do you see them back in contention? Do you see them trading everybody who's a pending UFA, or do you see them trying to bring some of them back? For now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe. If you really liked it, tell all your friends. This trade deadline might last for 3 weeks.